everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. Today I'm going to be going through and talking about the best romance books I've ever read. I don't know why, but when I started my reading journey, I literally exclusively only read romance books. Since then, I've broadened my horizons and I read such a mixture of genres, my favourite being romantasy, mystery and romance still. But because I started off so exclusively with romance, I have read my fair share of romances. So I've gone through them all, and these list of 10 I'm about to show you is what I believe to be the best. I feel like it is the perfect genre if you're looking for some escapism in your life, you just want to laugh, or you want to feel really warm and fuzzy. So anyway, without further ado, let's begin. The first book is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, and I absolutely adored this book. It's part of a 3 or 4 part series. I have only read the first one, but I don't doubt that they are as amazing as this one. I feel like lots of people get put off this book because of how long it is, but trust me, it's one of the ones which are so worth the length. I feel like a good romance book depends on what tropes are involved, and this has grumpy sunshine, small town, a bit of an enemies to lovers dynamic. In my opinion, that is just perfect. This book follows Naomi, and she is a runaway bride who has just left her wedding to go to Knockamout, Virginia to save her estranged twin sister Tina. However, when she gets there, Tina has stolen her car, her money, and left her with her 11-year-old niece she didn't even know existed. Naomi is now stuck with this child, has no home, no job, and is in a bit of a predicament. That's where local barber Knox jumps in to help her. However, he does not usually get involved with high maintenance women, but their lives end up intertwining and their story is just incredible. This is a type of romance book where it doesn't just have a good romance storyline, but the plot itself is so exciting, so unexpected in a romance, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is a slow burn, but I feel like that makes their story so much more exciting. There is some spicy scenes. It's honestly just the perfect romance read in my opinion. Next is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and take it from me, this is the cutest, most heartwarming romance you will ever read. If you are someone who absolutely loves rom-coms, this book is perfect because it has little notations to classic rom-coms all throughout, and it makes you feel so nostalgic. This is a fake dating romance which follows Liz, a high school senior who is obsessed with rom-coms and is looking for her fairy tale romance. She's determined to get with her childhood crush Michael, who has just returned to town, and she enlists the help of her neighbour Wes. However, as they scheme and plan together on how to get Michael to fall for Liz, Liz discovers that she likes Wes's company more than she thought. This book honestly had me smiling all throughout reading it. It was so sweet, so perfect, and if you're feeling a bit down, this book will lift you right back up again. I feel like the author Lynn Painter has done an amazing job at encapsulating how it feels to fall in love in your teenage years and all the giddiness and excitement, and how it's not always as perfect as you imagine it to be. But yeah, I highly recommend if you are a hopeless romantic. Next is Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this follows 2 authors who write completely different genres who are both stuck in a rut. They are polar opposites, don't get along, but the only issue is they are living in neighbouring summer houses for the rest of the summer. So they end up making a pact to write each other's genre to try and get out of their ruts. January, the female main character, will take him on little rom-com dates to get him out of his comfort zone, and Everett will take her into the woods to interview surviving cult members. This is enemies to lovers perfection. There is secrets that are unearthed. The plot and the characters are so witty. I feel like there is so many real and raw themes in this book. The chemistry is insane, and it's also got an emotional touch. This is the perfect romance read now that we're coming into springtime, summertime, so I definitely recommend to pick it up. Next is Twisted Games, and this is the second book in the Twisted series. It's my absolute favourite, and it can be read as a standalone. This book is literally everything. It's between a princess and a bodyguard. Together they navigate the political danger she's in now that her brother has abdicated, and their growing chemistry. This book is full of secrets, betrayal, grumpy sunshine. The characters have undeniable chemistry. It is insane. It is heavily based on a forbidden love trope, which makes everything more exciting. It will forever be one of the top romances I recommend when someone asks. Next is A 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is my favourite romance book of all time, by the way. I recommend everyone reads it if you are a romance lover. This book follows Clementine, and she's having a very rough time. She's sworn off love and thrown herself into work to keep her heart safe. She ends up moving into her late aunt's apartment, but ends up finding a man stood there with a lemon meringue pie recipe. He is literally perfect, so handsome, everything she could ever want. But there's one problem: he is from 7 years in the past. This book was one of the most exhilarating romances I've ever read. I had to stop halfway through just because I didn't want it to end. That's how good it was. Ashley Poston does such an amazing job at keeping her romances so unpredictable and so magic. They are not like any other romance I've ever read in my entire life. This book is written so beautifully. It writes grieving and losing yourself within grief so well. You will fall instantly in love with the 2 main characters. They will have you giggling and kicking your feet, and holding your breath hoping their story ends the way you want it to. It literally had me feeling every single emotion ever. It was a roller coaster. Some parts had me laughing, some parts had me crying. I cannot recommend this book more. Next is The Spanish Love Deception by Eleanor Armas, and this is one of my favourite enemies to lovers workplace romances that there is. This follows Lena, who is desperately looking for a date to take to her sister's wedding in Spain, especially because she lied to her family about having this all-amazing American boyfriend. She only has 4 weeks to find a date, which is going to be a massive issue. However, enter Aaron, her tall, condescending colleague who she cannot stand. He offers to step in, but she'd honestly rather refuse because he is so infuriating, but she doesn't have another choice. So she ends up accepting her offer, and throughout the book she realizes maybe he's not as bad as he seems. The romance between these characters is so heated. The navigation of their differences is so tense. There's parts where you will literally have butterflies in your stomach. It's honestly just such a magnificently written book, and it's so underrated. I never hear anyone talk about it, but honestly it's so worth it. Wildfire by Hannah Grace is the next favourite romance book that I have. This is the second book in the Icebreaker series, but again it can be read as a standalone. This is one of the spicier romance books on this list. This follows Russ and Aurora, who meet at a college party and end up having a one-night stand. However, Aurora slips away before Russ can learn her full name. This anonymity ends when they end up being camp counselors together over the summer. This is a type of romance which gets straight into it. There's no waiting, not a lot of slow burn, but that makes it so much better in my opinion. I feel like all of Hannah Grace's books, the characters change and grow throughout. You see the struggles that Russ faces in his life and then how he's overcoming that, and it's so heartwarming how Aurora has her own problems and how she helps him. It's just incredible. It's set at a summer camp, and I think that is so fun, so different. It's honestly overall just a fun, spicy college romance story. Next is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and this is also one of my top romance books I've ever read. This is another book which has all my favourite tropes involved, probably why I loved it so much, but honestly, even if you don't love these tropes, still read it. The story itself is incredible. It is a small town romance and has grumpy sunshine, and it's also technically a slow burn, but it's not one of the ones that like lasts the whole book. It ends quite quick. This story follows Bree, who flees her hometown after a traumatic event and moves to a small town in Maine. There she meets a silent man called Archer Hale, who has lived a solitary life ever since he was a child. Archer is also holding his own secret after a tragic event that happened in his own life. They end up being the key to starting each other's healing journeys. This book, in my opinion, is literal perfection. It has everything you could ever want in a romance book. It will have you sobbing your heart out, it will have you laughing, it will have you feeling giddy and warm inside. It's just everything, and the plot twist at the end will have you shook. Despite all the really cute moments and growth of the characters in this book, I feel like it really portrays the message that how can you love someone before you love yourself. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but you just have to read it for yourself. And last of all is Mile High by Liz Tomford. And I think I've mentioned this book before and saying that people get really put off this book because of how long it is, but trust me, it is so worth the read. This follows the story of Stevie, who is a flight attendant for the NHL, and she finds herself intertwined with an NHL player called Evan Zanders. This leads to a forbidden relationship between them where they have to navigate fame, public perception, and their own personal baggage. This book is one of my favourites because it has the trope where the main male character comes across really hard and stone cold, but underneath he's a little softie, and I love that. Stevie is so feisty, and I love that in a woman in a romance book, and their story is just so messy but so cute at the same time. I loved literally everything about this book. There were so many themes and like messages in it. It has open conversations about therapy and mental health, which I think is really refreshing to see in a book, but it also has literal perfect banter between the characters, spice which is to die for, and the romance itself is adorable. I know it's not about a football player, but it gives me such Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce vibes, and I freaking love that. But yeah, I've said before, in my opinion, there is certain parts which didn't really need to be in there, which could make it a bit shorter, but don't let that put you off because the story itself is so worth the read, trust me. Okay, that is all my favourite romance books I've ever read. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video and found it informative, if you are someone who is an avid romance reader and looking for new recommendations, or if you're someone who's looking to get into romance. Please remember to like and subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in my next video.